Hello, welcome to Pompey Talk in partnership with Jan Lee. My name is Mark McMahon, and join me in the studio today to discuss Pompey's 2-1 defeat against Stevenage is new sports writers Neil Allen and Jordan Cross. Neil, there's only one place to start of Saturday's game, and that's at half-time and in the dressing rooms. Do you want to tell the viewers just exactly what happened?
Did something happen?
I think so. Somebody told me something. I've just seen someone on Facebook.
Really?
That one?
Well, it's overshadowed the result of the game, a lot of it, isn't it? Even though it did, for me, definitely influence the defeat. It was down to what happened in the dressing room and the punishment meted out because of that. And suddenly Paul Cook is one change he can make in the second half. Without doubt, his players were affected by it. Some of them looked shell-shocked. And Pompey lost a game they were very comfortable in going into the break 0-0. All down to a dressing room bust-up between Michael Doyle and Christian Burgess.
Yeah. Do you know how the events unfolded?
I think so. It's in the paper. You've not read it? You've not read it?
If I get caught this, I could.
No. But basically, there was a disagreement with Christian Burgess and Michael Doyle in the dressing room, and there was a scuffle, and it ended up with Christian Burgess having a cut head. Apparently, stitches were required, and as a result of that, the manager Paul Cook decided that with one man having his head tended to by the club doctor, and the other one ushered away into another part of the room, he decided that neither should feature for the second half. So it's incredibly rare fights happen. It's incredibly even more rare that players are taken off as a result of it. I mean, certainly, I've spoken to many people involved in football for many years, ex-players, managers, and no one can think of a moment where a player's been substituted for having a fight with another one, but Pompey had two.
Jordan, do you think that was the correct decision? Bearing in mind that Pompey went on and got beat.
Well, only Paul Cook can say, or the people that were in there would know the severity of what happened. As Neil said there, for actually the players, rucks do happen in football.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things, and it's normally kept in house. And Paul Cook has come out and chose to speak about it, which is rare. He deserves credit, and with his honesty with the punters. But it was a surprise to see the changes. It's normally kept in house. What isn't in doubt for me is that it proved costly. Mainly, you can debate about the impact and the psychology it had, but two of Pompey's, their fundamental defender and probably their key midfield player weren't used in the second half. That's the one factor. And the other thing, as we picked up on, is only one attacking change could take place then. So I'm guessing that Paul Cook was pretty peeved about the whole scenario, because he did give one interview where he didn't mention what happened. He then probably had a bit of time to stew on it, and then decided to come out and say, "Oh, hold on, this is what took place." He didn't want to insult fans' intelligence, because we're all kind of asking the question, and it's natural we would ask the question when you get two players like that taken off. And he came out and spoke about it, in depth to the news, and then we got the story, which has obviously then become the key talker from the weekend.
Yeah.
But we don't know the severity of the cut to the head of Burgess, so we try not to speculate here. But there was a cut, but we don't know how bad it was. Was it at the stage where it was so bad that he couldn't go out and play anyway? And then how could he send Doyle out if that is the case? We don't know yet. We'll find that out. I know they left the stadium together after the game. We saw that, and I know somebody didn't see much of a cut on Burgess' head.
He kind of came past me, and I looked around, and then he was already kind of level with me by that stage, and it wasn't an obvious cut situation or Pizzagate or anything like that. When these people, or Fergie's kicking a boot, Beckham made it obvious he was going to be cut afterwards. There was no hair thrown back and that, and they did leave together. And I think that was probably a symbolic gesture that happened to show that there were sort of, there was a lot of talk going around, and they left in a united fashion. So I don't think that was any accident.
They apologised at the time, or after the game, to the teammates, and then they had another chat with Cook, and it's obviously been explored about the outcome today.
Yeah, and it's quite important, and I think it's good that it has. The more detail has come out about it was the players fighting amongst themselves, because let's face it, if anyone has got an agenda against Paul Cook, who doesn't fancy him as manager, it was pretty clear to me at the weekend that this would be used as a tool against him. to say that he'd lost the dressing room, which he hasn't palpably, or even in a lot of quarters. I was contacted on a number of occasions at the weekend saying that it was Paul Cook that was getting stuck into the players. So it's good that amongst all the conjecture and rumour that there's, the detail we have been able to kind of put it out there and document that, and I'm sure that more will come to light with this sort of inquest sort that Mark Caplan's looking.
Well, it's an often used phrase, isn't it? Lost the dressing room, and not many people know if a manager's lost the dressing room, of course, accurately, do they?
It's easy to throw out their accusation out there.
It is, and obviously bust-ups shouldn't happen, but they do all the time, and it's rarely highlighted. It's only highlighted because of the substitutions. But I use the example of Man United with Andy Cole and Teddy Sheringham. Didn't like each other, didn't speak to each other. They won the Champions League together.
Yeah.
So players don't get on, it happens. I'm not implying these don't get on in general. It's just one incident that we know of.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean he's lost his dressing room or whatever like that. It's now about how it affects them moving on. Does it affect them negatively? Does it bring them tighter together? That's the problem.
Is it fair to say that it's brought a bit of embarrassment to Pompey's door? What's again something that they wouldn't want at this stage when they're going for promotion?
For me, it was a must-win game. We keep saying must-win. They had to follow up the Luton result, and they lost. And again, Jordan mentioned they lost because of that. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And that is a massive blow for them again. And if anything, this incident overshadows it a little bit and takes people's attention away from the result. But it was what caused it.
Yeah.
And those players, no doubt, are ashamed of it. They're embarrassed. Two good guys, big performers for Pompey. Pompey cannot afford to suspend them from matches.
Yeah.
Big performers, and they're needed moving on as well.
Well, Jordy, what do you reckon the club will do? We know the club's going to hold an investigation today. What's the likely outcome of that?
We were discussing this earlier, and it's probably a benefit that Pompey haven't got a game this weekend, because if they look at things, they can. The traditional thing is in these sort of situations is to give a fine, which will be a week or two, normally a maximum of 2 weeks' wages, or they can make more of a statement and suspend them. But in effect, it doesn't actually impact what's going to happen in terms of fixtures. So I think one of those two, maybe a fine might be the way to go. Put it to bed, and then they can come out and say that then we move on, kind of thing. Anything more would be well over the top. I know we're running a poll on it, and one of the options is transfer list and such. Like, come off it. These things happen in football. It's proved costly, and that's the big hurtful thing about it. But in terms of unity moving forward, I don't think it'd be impacting too much on the dressing room. You see it so many times in football. Actually, it's almost a sign of a good dressing room when players can sort things. You say go and sort it out amongst themselves, sort of thing. And I know it's a bit more old-fashioned than kind of what happens on nowadays. And I know it's Neil's been speaking to Kevin Dillon, and maybe they didn't have people booting each other in the head, but they used to have a few Barneys back in the day, and that didn't do that Pompey any harm.
Well, Neil, it obviously happened at half time. Was there anything that in that first half that sort of could have sparked this here? Because again, David Ford's name was mentioned, that he had a fallout with Christian Burgess on the way off the pitch. Yeah,
Ford and Burgess, by all accounts, had words on the way off the pitch. But for me, I thought Burgess was Pompey's best player first half. And Doyle was also right up there. It was okay for Pompey's first half. It wasn't bad. They'd hit the post. They looked like they could create something attacking-wise. The ball from Roberts just missed the head of Smith, and it was just okay first half, and there was no boos or anything like that. It was goalless, and I think okay, platform to build on second half. There was definitely nothing there to think what's going on, and then suddenly it's erupted, and we've seen the second half without two players who Cook would never ever drop. And whenever they're fit, they're right in the first team. Yeah,
if something, Jordy, we were worried about in the build-up to the game, beating Luton and then going to Stevenage, and it brings up that whole inconsistency thing that's going on.
It's infuriating, isn't it? I mean, Paul Cook said pain was coming. I don't think he quite saw the pain that quite developed in the end, but he was referring to sort of the difficulties of playing this side, and it kind of it developed like that. As I say, there was Cole Bennett hit the post in the first half. The ball whipped across. You hope Michael Smith was going to get on the end, but I mean, I just thought Pompey. It wasn't a great second half, but they made the sub, and with Chaplin coming on, you thought they might just kind of get into the ascendancy a bit. There was a great chance for Connor Chaplin, which was probably really sort of the gilt-edged one, where 6 yards out, and you thought he was going to stick that away. and then the 2 goals in 4 minutes, and it's just kind of like, the same old Pompey, the same old questions are being asked of them, and they're coming up short, and this inconsistency. Forget all the rucks that are going on. It's the thing that's going to kill them this season. Is going to be this problem, and I mean it was kind of really forgotten about. But there was an incident after the game where a fan sort of harangued Paul Cook. Yeah, there was a few words said, and Paul Cook kept his calm and made reference to it in the press conference after the game. The fan's point was, one strike at home, it isn't good enough. That was the top and bottom of what he was saying. I don't think that's not what's costing Pompey at the moment. No, I mean they had 15 shots at the weekend. They create chances. It's not playing with one up front that's the problem here. It's these inconsistent displays and
2 poor bits of defending as well.
And defending is proving costly.
Yeah.
I didn't see the goals too well when they happened. And crikey, when I saw them back, I was glad I didn't as well, because there were a couple of horror shows.
Mm-hmm. Jordy mentioned there's 15 shots on goal. Neil, if you look at Pompey stats throughout the course of the season after a game, they always have more dominant possession, they always have more shots on goal. Again, the shots on goal, they don't seem to be able to convert their chances at the minute, regardless if they're playing 1 up front or 2 up front or whatever.
Yeah, but say there's just 2 awful goals on the backbone. They shouldn't have lost against Stevenage. They were comfortable in the first half with Burgess there. Stevenage were pumping the ball forward, weren't they? Burgess was winning everything. Yeah. And the second half was silly. Ender Stevens caught in possession for one of them. The other one was a shank clearance from the keeper. Just poor goals conceded, and they can't have to rely on it scoring at least once to win every game. Yeah. It really is poor, and same old problems. Yeah. And again, is this team better than last year?
Which opens up that debate, which we all think that's maybe not.
Perhaps Tuesday night we're thinking, better team. Yeah. Come Saturday, is it better than last year? That's the issue. It's just up and down, isn't it, with Pompey? Yeah.
Well, I suppose there's one positive you take out of the game. That was Michael Smith scoring his 3rd goal in 3 games. Jordy, he seems to have risen to the challenge of leading the line.
Yeah, he offered something that was. Who did you go for your man of the match? Go for?
I thought Clark.
Yeah, I would say Smith was probably not too far behind him.
They got the same rating.
Right, yeah, and I agree with that. I think Smith, as Paul Cook highlighted afterwards, he was an honest runner. And what I did like about Smith is you could see the confidence of the goals, gave him the conviction to be able to get shots off. Mm-hmm. He was always looking to unleash anywhere around the 18-yard box. Okay, there was a couple of deflections and blocks, but he was always looking to fire. And after he'd gone up against Mullins, against Luton, really giving him a kind of torrid time, a real strong defender at this level. I thought he pushed on from that. I thought that the problem wasn't Michael Smith. It was the 3 men behind him. Mm-hmm. I thought Bennett was probably the pick of them, but the other 2 came up short for me. And there was too often that there was a too big a gap between Smith and those players, and you really need those lads to get in advance of Smith to really make the best of him. I thought he was too isolated on too many occasions, and where Pompey were perhaps a little bit direct to getting the ball to him, if they were playing a sort of a longer ball up to him, they were waiting for the others to get there, and he was there was too much of a gap. But all things considered, Michael Smith was a plus. As I said, if it had been him that missed that one that Connor Chaplin missed, I think there'd have been a different reaction. But I think Neil called it about right there. Matt Clark and Smith up there as the 2 best players.
Okay, Neil, finally for you, if you look into your crystal ball, you've got Grimsby 2 weeks' time. It's going to be enough. It's going to be a long 2 weeks. But are you anticipating Christian Burgess and Michael Doyle being in that starting lineup at Grimsby?
I don't think Cook can afford not to have him in that starting lineup. He's under pressure. We know that. There's pressure at Pompey. There's expectations. They have to get promoted. They've written 1 game off this weekend because of those 2. Does he really want to take the risk of writing another game off if he's suspending them for another game? I don't think he could. I don't think you cannot replace Michael Doyle in this squad. We saw in the FA Cup against Wickham. Can't be done. Burgess is his leading defender. He regards him as his best defender. I agree in that respect. So I don't think you can afford to. You cannot afford to lose at Grimsby as well. As his job's on the line. Pompey's promotion progress is on the line. He can't write that off as well as another punishment for these 2.
Okay. Well, lads, thanks again for your thoughts. You've been watching Pompey Talk in partnership with Jan Leap. We'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.